Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another week of Growing with My Fellow Growers. I'm your host, Jack Greenstock, joined as always by an amazing panel. I'm going to pass it over first this week to Spartan Grown.
Thanks, Jack. I'm Spartan Grown. You can find me on Instagram at Spartan Grown, all one word with no spaces, or you could shoot me an email at Spartan Grown or Spartan Grown at gmail.com or Russ at gmlarmy.com, and I can help you with all of your growing or lighting questions.
We're happy to have you back. And next up, we've got Noah the Grower.
How's it going, everybody? Noah the Grow on Instagram. You can find me there and happen to be here.
Happy to have you back, and hopefully I'll have solid connection this week. I know I had a little bit of dropping in and out last week, but it wasn't too terrible. I figured out last night if I unplug and replug my router in, it seems to reset it and give me the best connection for at least a short period of time. So I did that right before the show, and last night I actually got a higher number for download speed than I've ever seen on any of the places I've ever lived. So I was like, holy crap. At least it's capable of cranking it out. The thing is, I think with this, it's more upload speed that matters. That's why sometimes I'm a little bit choppy, but it seems like right now it's looking pretty good. So I think that rebooting the router pre-show is going to be a new go-to SOP for Jack Greenstock on this podcast operation. But without any more further rambling about the randomness of the production side of the podcast, we are here live with you all on YouTube from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m. on the West Coast, from 6 o'clock to 8 p.m. on the East Coast, or wherever you're at listening, live or otherwise. But we've got a lot of cool people in the chat. Make sure you click on over to live chat or view all messages if you haven't done that already. And if you'd like to, you can tag us with your questions for growing, breeding, lighting, uh, environmental control, nutrients, regimes, and organic versus synthetic, all that good stuff. You can ask us anything you want, and we will get to it because we got the three of us tonight. We can hammer them out. So if you got some grow questions, even life questions, whatever you're feeling, you can toss it our way. Tag at Cheap Home Grow or at Jack_Greenstock, or you can also tag Spartan Grown. I'm not sure if Noah's over as tough time sometimes being on the phone and also being in the chat. So I'm not sure if Noah will see your messages if you tag him, but if you tag at Cheap Home Grow, we can relay them to him. And I copy and paste any ones that I see that highlight us. And I know Spartan's also good at that as well. And we'll get to them if we don't answer it immediately. We usually jump back to some of the questions. So if you hang around long enough, chances are we will answer your question. So I guess I'll start it off with a question and say, what are you smoking on tonight, Spartan Grown? Because I know you always are indulging with us.
Oh, right now I've got for flower, I've got Orange Vortex to my right here, and my bong over here to my right, and then for concentrate, I've got a smorgasbord over here of things to mess with. I have a one that was I never heard of before that I had to snap up, and it was called Prodigy, and it had a test result of 5% terps. So it's like, okay, all right, we'll give that a go. And I can't tell you what it tastes like. It's just like a, I don't know, it's a taste I haven't tasted before. So it's different, but I like it. So that's what I'm using, doing my concentrates.
Always a good time. Since I got the Puffco Peak XL bowl, we've started dabbing more again. And I've got lots of concentrates that we've kind of stockpiled over a long time, and I keep in the Curador in the fridge, depending on uh, the level of, you know, extraction and processing. But I started dabbing a little bit more with some travel and stuff recently. And also I gotta give a shout out to Pure Glass. I think it might be Pure Glass, Purr. This is my Opal Puffco. The top of it was completely chipped. So I had them basically flame cut and smooth the top. So instead of a jagged cut thing, you can see it's like factory smooth. And it's funny enough, just only a little bit bigger than the original Puffco Peak glass. But they
It's
don't
like
make these
opal in
anymore.
here.
Yeah, they got the opal. Me and Lady Greenstock are both October babies, which is opal is the birthstone.
Oh, cool.
So, and her wedding ring actually I got has like a pretty predominant opal stone as well. So, and she inherited some opal from her grandma. It's big in our family. She in her family, it's like only the people that are born in October can wear the opal jewelry, and so she was like the one that got to inherit that. So that was kind of a cool thing. But yeah, I we also have I think it's called a unicorn horn that broke similarly, and I was kind of using this one as like the test fix from Pure Glass, and they did a fucking bang up job, dude. It was $60, and to me, that's, I mean, it's priceless. Like it's, you can't even buy a new one of these. So I think the glass itself, when they were new, was like 100 or 150, something like that. So it
Yeah.
makes it functional. And
And I like the dry pieces that a lot of people have come out with, the dry hit pieces that you don't put water in and it's just a glass neck. Those are some of my favorite. They get what I feel like the closer to hitting it from my rig. It's still not, I don't think they're still at the point to where it's like when I hit something out of a rig, but it's getting pretty damn close now with those dry pieces, which is essentially just a
especially the
glass
XL
neck.
bowl, it tastes better. You get bigger
Yeah.
rips.
XL ball is
It
also
makes
good.
a big difference. I had the OG Puffco Peak Pro bowl, which was just like much, much, much smaller. And me and Lady G aren't like massive 1 gram dabbers or anything, but uh, it's more so the quality of like it being heat up on a more even surface, a larger surface. The taste comes through better, and it also ends up. Oh, we got a new video 90s cheap home grow tune. Keep y'all singing in. So I think we're gonna at some point, probably at the halfway point in the show, I'm gonna bring up Weed Nerd DWCs. I think it's AI generated, but it's a cheap home grow fan music content, which is something admittedly I never asked for, but I always aspired for because I'd seen other shows, like even in the space, have like a theme song or a hype song or even just like a little intro. Could be like a few minutes or something or just a minute. But it's never something that I put the effort in or like contracted somebody to do. And I kind of figured eventually, if we hang around long enough, somebody in the community will make something like that for us. And sure enough, Wiener DWC, fucking great dude, great member of the community. He's got a wrench for sure already. Just double check. But moderator here in the chat, making sure that no bots and spam gets through there. And
Oh yeah, he's had a wrench for a while.
oh yeah, he's a great dude. We got Artman in the chat too, another great person.
Oh
Spartan Grown in the
man.
chat here and there, chatting it up with APM and a lot of others. So shout out to
Yeah,
everybody
shout
who's
out to
here.
APM. He reached out to me recently, interested in some of my genetics, and I was stoked with his message because he made like a little personal flair and brought in like I've been watching you since then, and just brought up all these little things that only somebody who's been watching would know. So yeah, I was super stoked to see that. So I'll be hooking him up with a package probably going out tomorrow or the next day.
It's wild, man. Some of these people have known us online for years, and it'll be like a decade soon that they'll like have been listening. Like the people that have been here from the start. Like, hey, we were here before the growing with my fellow growers back when it was this cheap home grow. And it's humbling, dude. It's like really just cool to be, like I said, I always feel like a small part. And it's just a big ship, and I feel like it's kind of the overgrow the planet journey we're
Well,
all on.
I look at it too, like it's amazing. Like they really did a good job of collecting the right people around each other because there's not many shows where it's a panel show that do it every week and last the test of time, especially in the canvas space. It's challenging. It's got extra challenges for sure. And here, everyone that's been involved with Cheap Home Grow, people that aren't involved now anymore, and people that will be involved in the future, man. I think it's all one big family vibe, and it's what keeps us going and makes it easy for us. Plus, we try to bring pertinent information, so it's not just a bullshit show. At the same time, if you hang around, you're going to learn something probably. And that's something special in this space, I think. Sometimes it's usually one way or the other, and this is kind of a good mix of both.
And we have actually taught tons of people. I mean, so many people have come on and shown their garden and been like, I learned how to grow from you guys. Like last week, Flora Horrors, I got mine in the mail. I could maybe share my screen and do my little Instagram post, but I got a couple of the pitcher plants and then a few of the little sticky ones. One's more of like it almost looks like a little cacti with a bunch of sticky stuff on it. And then the other one has like kind of like the spidery arms. And then the ends kind of have that thing that kind of curl up. I think they're like Felicia or something. I'm not great with the technical names or whatever, but the pitcher plants are fucking dope. He hooked me up with the upgrade. I ordered like the medium size and he hooked me up with the large one and they came with actual pitchers on there. I thought they were going to just be like cuts and I was going to have to grow them out and they're going to have to like flower essentially to make a pitcher. But he already sent me one. Both of the pitchers actually had pitchers on there and he put them in little cups and stuff so that they wouldn't get damaged in the transportation. So the packaging was top notch. Like a good use of brown paper, good use of paper cups. I think he said he's going to maybe change the tape that he uses because it's a little bit too sticky, but with a little bit of finesse and careful hands, I'm used to handling plants, at least cannabis. So I have kicked myself in the past for like accidentally breaking off stalks or branches and things like that in the early stages, especially when it's sensitive and delicate. So I think that I've not that I'm an ultimate green thumb, but I've acquired a little bit more of a sensitive touch with time and patience and doing it in proper lighting up in your workspace. That's another thing. Like sometimes it plants on the ground and you try and like bend over and work on it on the ground. Sometimes it's better to like pull it up and like set it somewhere that you can see it in good lighting and like spin it around and actually be able to manipulate it. Not like the back corner is always stuck in that tent. You just never get there because it's just like impossible to reach. But when you pull it out, it's like, oh, I could put on a little lazy Susan, spin it around. I think that's a Mr. Tight tip. Shout out to Mr. Tight, Empire Breeding Co. He said that one a long time ago, and
Pretty
lots
cool.
still use it.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think he would even rotate his plants like a quarter turn a day or like half turn a day so that they'd all get even lighting, which is a
Yep.
kind of cool
I
thing.
think it's a quarter turn a day. Yep, that's cool stuff. I remember that. Shout out to Mr. Tate. He's one of the
Great
ones
dude,
that
man.
got a lot of good genetics and got him out there for people. That's super cool.
I'm all for it. I think that um, all of our time is too short. I saw like a meme or something. It's like graveyards are full of people that said they were going to get to something later. And man, it's if that ain't the truth, to inspire you to kind of get out there and do it, start growing it. I'm in the process of acquiring a new tent. I thought about bringing my old tent from the old place, but like you said, I got more space now. Maybe upgrade the room. And instead of using like kitchen cabinets like I had in the past for like my clone area and my veg, I think I'm gonna get one of those tents that's like multi-chamber. It's like a 4x3, but like 3x3 of it is for flower, and then like 1x3 of it is like a two-level veg space. So there's like a rack that goes straight through it, so you can have like a clone up top. Like a The way I'm gonna situate it, I think, is I'll either have a tray of clones or my oxycloner sitting up top with a little light, and then down low I'll have the plants that are in veg, and essentially it'll allow me to
If you're
maybe
doing an
cycle more plants through.
oxycloner, yeah, if you're doing oxycloner, I'd throw that in the bottom. I would be worried about
That's
heat.
probably a good point. Yeah, the water weight and spillage.
But if you're doing seedlings, like you're popping seeds, that extra heat's a plus, and it's nice to be up there at the top.
Oh yeah, I
So
didn't even think
all
about the
really,
heat.
yeah, it all really kind of depends on which way you're going. But even clones and cuttings will like the heat, but I wouldn't do the oxycloner in the heat.
Well, I'm
That's
also thinking I could almost get away with, I don't know how much light will come through, but like if I have the oxycloner down low and then like
uh,
the veg or small seedlings and stuff up top, I
yep,
could just run a top light and then not even need a light mounted on the
true.
middle rack
Yeah.
because the oxycloner needs so little. I will say VivoSun got tested by Migro, which is a third party in my opinion. At least they sell lights, but like they were testing tents against other tents. It wasn't like they're marketing their light. And they showed that the VivoSun tent was actually more reflective than Mars Hydro and all these other more expensive tents. So if you just get like a modern VivoSun, they reflect a shit ton of light. And even the old ones are still like very, very good. So my old one was a VivoSun. I'm not sponsored by them. I did get like a free heating mat sent one time. Uh, but I use that for my cats, not for my grow. And
You're making your own space panda film works great.
that's another thought is the way that my setup is now, it's gonna kind of like awkwardly maybe just be like out in the open, like up against a wall. And I'm thinking I might get one of those almost like changing room, like I don't know. I usually think of like a Chinese restaurant or something where they have like the little like folding panels that like it's like a fake like a faux
Like
wall. It
false
has like
wall. Yeah.
yeah. So I was thinking
Yeah,
something
that's
like
pretty
that
cool.
potentially, just to make it a little bit less like obvious or in the way, but that also might make it take up more space. I figure like a 3x4 is really not that much space, especially since we just roughly doubled our square footage. So it's in the works. I'm about to go on a trip back to Ohio, and so it won't be done before then. But when I get home, and now that we're all the way out of our boxes, thankfully, it's nice to be
That was quick.
unpacked and moved in. Yeah, 1 week, man.
That's
As
good.
yep, we didn't fuck around. It was mostly Lady Greenstock. She did all the work, all pretty much everything but one box was like shared slash her stuff. And then like one box is like my clothes. So I I mean I have furniture and stuff that's also shared, but that's already like up and moved in and unpacked. So it's just nice. She's done a fantastic job, and you don't realize how much you need a little extra space until you get into a little extra space and
Well,
have
the
some
uh,
breathing
the
room.
paradox always is for me is that every time I'd upgrade to a bigger space, it wouldn't take me long before that space was full and I'd want a bigger space.
It's the whole thing about a closet. If you get another closet, you just fill it up. You get another closet, you fill it up. And eventually, like, that's what I was telling her. I was like, this place will also be cluttered if we don't very carefully, you know, plan with what we get and what we bring in. Because even at 725, that's like not a like a mansion. You know, we're not in a
No.
huge space, so it's just more appropriate than it was before. So it's a balancing act at times, but I think it'll be nice because honestly, I think that style of tent is new-ish, and it'll be something that I can kind of review and share my journey as I grow in that compared to having like a separate dedicated veg and flower. And I'll see how well that wall holds up if I'm gonna have to panda
Yeah.
film it over in the center. Um, I also have
Think
cats,
think
so
it's
they
gonna
can
be
scratch.
challenging for the environment, or is it gonna be pretty easy to keep the environment in check?
Environment's easy
Okay.
because just like my old place, I'm pretty coastal, San Diego, and I have a front patio and a back patio and like sliders and windows that we have fans. I have a ceiling fan here.
Ceiling fans are
Much
awesome.
higher, huge high ceilings. So a lot of that heat will get sucked up there. And quickly, if we just like open the front patio door, the whole entire place you can drop 10 degrees if you wanted to in a matter of minutes. So
Nice.
if it ever builds up a little bit too much heat, like while we're away at work and things like that, um, they allow air conditioning at this place. It's not like built in, but you can get your own units, like window units or roll around or whatever. I don't think we'll need it, but we'll see. I think I said I looked it up, I think a while back on one of the other shows. I think it was like only 13% of people in the US live without AC, but when
I was gonna
it's
say
like
you're talking crazy telling me you're gonna think about using your AC. I'm like, no, I'm not thinking about it. I am.
even right now in like the heat, it's only in the 70s for us, which is
Oh, it's fucking 86 now, right here. And we're fucking at what are we, 7:19 p.m.
I don't think we touched 80 today. And like Lady G and I had our first pool day. Our new spot's got a pool. So last night fucking hanging out by the pool, dip your feet and cool off. It was
Nice.
fantastic. Feel like I'm at a resort.
I'm waiting for that to
It's
blow
a
this way, man. I'll take some of that 72.
it's ideal. That's why I live here. That's why I pay the country club tax of being in California is the weather is so consistent. Like I'm from Ohio. Like it brutal summers, hot. There's like a few good times. Actually, if you're by a pool in Ohio during the summer, it's fun. Like I'm about to go visit family and they're on the lake and they have a pool at one of the houses. So it's like, we'll be cool. I'm not working. But those winters, scraping ice off your windshield and shoveling driveways or paying a plow guy or just trying to get
Or
around, not
just the road
sliding on
salt
black ice.
fucking making your car rust.
It's funny enough, we trade road salt for beach salt because people's cars literally rust from west to east over here. Like they can see if you park it the same way every day, like your car will literally rust from the ocean side over. It's bizarre. Like you'll see cars that are like 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% rusted from one side to the next. And yeah. So
Wow.
salt in the air is a issue just like it's an issue with salt on the road. So it's thankfully not too much of an issue with grows. I will say it can become an issue with water and water supplies. Like if you have too much sodium in your water, that's not something that a lot of people test for, but cannabis actually doesn't like crazy high amounts of sodium. And is that something that you've ever measured for, Noah or Spartan? Have you ever checked sodium levels or considered sodium?
I mean, I just got a regular, I get a water test from my municipality, and so they give me those numbers, and I'm just looking, is it in the range, okay range? So I'm not really laser focused. I couldn't tell you what the number was, but yeah, I know it's in an okay range for what my plants can use. But that is interesting to think that even as an organic gardener, you could be adding salts, literally salts, in just the water that you're watering your plants when you're crying foul of anybody using salts, and yet a lot of you have salt in your water that you're watering your plants. That's
I had
funny.
an organic gardener who was from out here who was begging me to send him seawater to use in his organic grows. He wanted like the microbes and stuff, but there's definitely a lot of salt in seawater.
Yeah, I don't know what the level is of mine, but I wonder if that the Berkey water filter filters that out. I mean, I wouldn't know.
I think it
It would.
Um,
does.
yeah, I use
Yeah.
only Berkey water in my grow room. So uh I make my wife makes me 2 gallons in the morning, and then I make two couple gallons before I go in there. My tank holds 2.5, so technically it's two. So I get I run 4 gallons a day through it pretty much, and I haven't had any problems, and I've noticed it tastes better. Like, yeah, I love it, so I use it consistently. I had the old school filters. They don't even sell them with the colloidal silver no
I was
more.
just gonna
So,
say you're gonna have to
yep.
good luck finding the same filters for that fucker now.
Well, and I don't know why, but I'm kind of a conspiracy guy, so I bought an extra set, and the extra set was just in case S ever hit the fan. So I had it for my own
Badass.
self personally to drink, but eventually, if I have to, I might incorporate it for. No, I don't know. I'll probably still save those and just get those crappy remake ones for my
There you
grow.
go. Yeah. Shit hits the fan, you still got the good ones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So this one example of when having I've heard in like military circles they say like one is none and two is one. So it's like having a backup of something essentially. Because so many things die or break. It's nice to have a backup, whether it's a flashlight, a pen, or knife, something like that. It's easy enough to have a second one just sitting around. And I will say, having more space, it allows more stuff like that. Like I have a little bit of storage and I have a garage now. So um, I had this big light that was like taking up space in my closet in my other place. And it's not like something that I could have necessarily put outside because it was a exposed driveway. But now I've got the ability to more properly store it. So um, space considerations definitely. Everybody, like Spartan mentioned, I think last week, wants to increase the size of their grow. And so once you start growing, you're like, I want to add another tent. And then I see people like Eagle Gardens and many others end up with like a tent city where you've got like one tent, two tents, seven tents, 12 tents, like your whole entire room is tents. And then eventually some of them build out a grow room. I actually do think there's advantages to having a tent city. Like, and I know that a lot of commercial people poo-poo that, and they're like, "Oh no, tents are garbage," or "That's for home growers or rookies," whatever. It's like, I don't know. I think Eagle and many others have shown you can do fucking really good work in a grow tent, and they offer a lot of flexibility that you might not necessarily have in a fully built-out room. So even with built-out rooms, I think Spartan Grown still takes advantage of a grow tent. So it's one of those things. It's not either or. You can. It's like why not both?
Yeah, I mean, I started out in a grow tent. What I did was I had a 4x8 light Gorilla grow tent light line because I didn't want to drop all that money on the good one. And then I started at that time when I started plants, my veg, I started building out my flower room. And so I built out just stick walls in my basement, just framed out a room. No drywall. I did put insulation in, and then I just used Panda film for my drywall. And that was my flower room. And then so it was a veg was my it was a tent, and my flower room was stick room. And then I took the tent down and did a stick veg room. And so now I have both. And then I put the tent back up on the outside of that room to use again. And right now I've got a breeding project in it. So it's always like it's cool because the versatility of you can take it down, put it back up, and move it around, and that's way easier than you can fucking 2x4 wall. So that's what I think that's
Oh
where it's
yeah,
really advantageous. So it's a very quick temporary grow room if you want
I had
to
a
too.
I had a buddy in Florida who would be perfect for if you were really not able to make your mind up. If there's a certain word for that, I can't think of what it is. Um, Somebody who's like indecisive, I think is the term. This dude worked at Disney, and his job like every day at like Tomorrowland or whatever part of the park, they'd have people that come every day, so they'd make it different. So like part of that would be like they'd have like a 6 foot wall that was like 3 feet high that kind of curved as you walked into the building that day, and the next day it's fucking gone. That's a big open space. So like this dude, he was into like either the carpentry or some other part of it, but a friend of through my wife, a real interesting guy. But like it's just amazing that like you can do these projects daily and quickly, but it's just like a lot more expensive and a lot more effort and a lot more wherewithal and know-how and especially cost now. Holy shit, the cost of like wood even is so ridiculously high comparatively to maybe what it used to be or even just other materials. It makes FRP maybe not seem so ridiculous. The fiberglass reinforced particle board or whatever. But essentially mold proof plastic like fiberglass walls. And I've even seen that stuff used. I mentioned this the other day when I think I was in the Dominican with my wife. They had it was during Christmas time and they had a ice skating rink and it was FRP on the floor and people had like these little skates on and they had like a Christmas tree up and like penguins all around wearing, little red scarves and stuff.
Wow.
But it shows how durable that shit is. I mean,
Yeah.
people sliding around on it, like having fun like it's an ice rink. But yeah, you can hose it off after, and even if it gets torn up, it's still pretty structurally sound. So it's amazing that I think less. It's amazing how few people actually take advantage of it. And I see so many grows still using wood and still using drywall because it's simple, cheap, available building material. And the local growers and coders and this and that, meaning code like people like code enforcement, they all know the other
And
stuff.
easy to work with too, right? Like common tools can get the job done, whereas more and more of the stuff that's getting specialized towards grow rooms, you need specialized tools to put the damn things up and work with them too, which can be a barrier of entry as well.
It's a hassle for sure, but I think quality is cheaper in the long run. And if you pay that upfront cost for like floor drains and walls that you can spray down, it's just like you're getting in front of issues that will knock you down maybe 1 year, 2 year, 5 years down the line when stuff mold and mildew starts to grow and you can't isolate. And it's like something rotting behind a wall that you don't even see. Um, so I think it's a friendly reminder, I guess, if you have the ability. That's another thing that's a beautiful about tent is like it's almost like an FRP. Like Mylar is pretty resistant. Like it's not going to grow mold or mildew easily unless you get really awful conditions. The aluminum piping or, I think it's aluminum, but it might be bent steel, tube steel. Those little frames of the grow tents aren't going to hold mold and mildew and stuff like that. They're simple enough to like at this point it's almost like those like lawn chairs and stuff. You just like snap them in, the little pipes and the poles pop together. And it is a little bit of a maneuver to finagle the tent around the actual frame a lot of the time. But that's once you do it once, you're done with it kind of thing. And I think they're definitely worth it. I know probably a lot of tent growers out there, like Jack, you're preaching to the choir. Half of us are more are in grow tents, but maybe get another one. I'm still thinking about it, and
I
I'm
would still say try grow room too. Try both.
for
Tell me
sure.
which one you like better because
Oh yeah,
there's always something. Well, generally when you do the room, you're going to make it probably bigger, so it's not a fair comparison, but you're probably going to make it bigger than your tent. The tent's generally the size of your exactly the size. That's my biggest gripe is they're usually exactly the size of what my I want my footprint to be. Well, when that's the case, it doesn't leave a whole hell of a lot of room for things like temperature control or humidity control or a lot of things. And when you start hanging things in there and you're trying to be like maybe up, try to save floor space or you hang it up high, like maybe fans, things like that. Well, you're better off hanging them outside of the tent entirely if you can, because then you can actually utilize that whole space. Because otherwise, you're going to have maybe a fan and then your light. So you just lost all that, whatever the height of that fan is, you've lost all that height that you could use in growth. So there's definitely more challenges coming with it. It restricts a lot of space. You got to put a lot of things like kind of on the outside, which you're really, again, utilizing more space than what you think you're utilizing when you have a 3x3 tent, but you got another 3x3 worth of space outside of that tent where you got all these controls.
you can stack stuff on top of it. I will say I've seen a lot of people pull that
Yeah.
one. That's like my
But then
old.
again, like like with me, I was in a basement with my tent and I got it and they had the ability you can get even taller, but I would never be able to fit that. I had to jam the tent in just to get it to fit as it was. I'm height restricted, so I can't even take advantage of that. But that is cool. Also to have the vents at the top to like naturally pull some of the heat out.
That's where like I'm at now. I could definitely put the fan on top. I'm also going to be able to just get a taller tent. So even if I was in the same exact square foot print, having more height is going to just every grower wants more height because the plants get tall, especially if you like growing a little bit of a sativa or sativa hybrid kind of style plant that stretches a little bit more. And I had one other thought with the footprint thing, but I'm kind of blanking on it. But oh, so I have like a 3x3 space now, if I get that tent that I'm thinking about. And my current grow light is for like a 3 by like a little more than 1.5. But with if it was at a whole max wattage, it would be too much for my smaller tent. But I'm thinking even in the new space, like I'm not gonna get a massive light. I'm gonna probably do like Spartan's mentioned in the past, and maybe even look through GML, and find some of those bars that add extra colors and extra little points in the spectrum. I might even throw a green in there because I've been seeing a lot of benefits of green even recently, but that's already in the white 3500K spectrum, a good amount. And I would just basically add exotic colors until I got to the appropriate wattage for the space. And then essentially maybe even more. Like I'd like to overclock and then dim. So that's like my current space. I have too much light for what I need. It's probably like 245 watts when it's at max, and I ran it closer to like 180 to 210. And it did great. So easier on the light, easier on the plants, I think, a lot of the time. But when it came down to the actual PPFs, I was like minimum 500, maximum maybe 1100. Um, Usually like 900 to 1100 was like the high end for the stretch and early flower. I usually dial it back to like 800, between 5 and 800 for late flower, and had great results with that. So I think it all just matters like what spectrum you want to give the plant and how intense you deliver it, because you can definitely give too much
And
and you
where?
can definitely
Yeah.
give not enough.
Yeah, exactly. I think some of the best strategy, a lot of people don't think like what you're saying, and that's instead of replacing the light that you have, use the light that you have and then supplement it. A lot of people are sitting waiting. I know it's like for me, it reminds me of computers. It's like I always hesitated when I was ready to buy a computer because if I waited another, 2 weeks, fucking the next best thing was out. And then the thing that I was going to buy was going to drop in price and I could get the same fucking thing for cheaper. So I understand that. But I think the best bang for your buck is to use what you got. It's not costing you anything more to use that. Um, Maybe you can make an argument for efficiency. You could replace it, get a better efficient, and but it's going to take a long time for that little difference in efficiency to pay. So I would say keep using what you're using if it's working, and supplement it. You can even supplement it with a full spectrum light, and you're just adding more light than what you have in
That's what I
there.
was thinking is I could even it's I think it's gonna be such a minor amount of extra wattage necessary that that's why I'm thinking kind of in the more exotic kind of blues, reds, and maybe
UVs.
even yeah, maybe even ultraviolets. I'm not entirely opposed to it. I might even do a fucking reptile ball, dude.
There you
Fucking
go.
go old school. They work. Like they put out a shit ton of UV for relatively
We're gonna have
low
one
amount of
coming out
wattage.
here shortly. We'll have one coming out that has UVA and UVB on two separate channels. And you can dim them and brighten them independently of each other, so you can make your own mix.
I love just messing around with it. It makes me more encouraged to get back into the grow, and even though I'm changing strains pretty much every time, as much excitement as there is there, it's fun to have other variables that you can kind of mess around with. And once
Yeah.
you've
How much height are
played
you
with
gonna
media
have?
enough,
Are you gonna have height to play with?
a shit ton. I mean, the one that I'm getting is I think over a foot taller than what I'm used to having. So
Man, I think your best bang for your buck would just be add some under canopy lighting. Just add
it's
some
another good
under
point.
canopy bars facing up, especially on either side. So if your plant's in the middle with you're 2 foot short, so you got it centered in the middle, so you're a little bit shy on the edges. Just put the fucking under canopy on the edges facing up.
It's not a bad idea. And that could also double as like if I need more veg light in that second chamber, that under canopy light can swing underneath that rack and mount to that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
got options. That's what I love about growing is like when you start to, I actually recommend people kind of start off with a smaller light and then you get like additional boosters or like a larger light when you get into a larger space, because you can run two lights side by side and you actually get cross benefits from them. I saw that Dr. MJ tested like two of the same Mars Hydro light. When he tested it individually, it was like, let's call it 2.25 on the efficiency. But then when he tested them both side by side, and like instead of a 2x4, he put it into a 4x4, So functionally, it'd be the same physical space each one should be covering, but that cross lighting made it go from like a 2.25 to like a 2.3 or 2.4. So the efficiency went up even higher, and nothing physically changed about the light. It was just how they were hung and how the light was distributed to the space
It
and the
was probably the
sensors.
PPF. It was probably the PPF that increased, not so much the efficiency, but actually efficiency at the same time, maybe.
Right.
But yeah, that cross where it crosses like that, you're adding light from one side, and this light's already adding light, so you get the benefit of both of that spillover. Because when we read the power map, it's different than when we put it in a sphere. So we put it into a sphere. That's a highly technical. It is a nice third-party test because it tests all the light that comes out of the fixture, but it's why you want tests like what MJ Coco's doing, where it's just testing where your footprint is, your flying footprint is, because I don't give a damn if the light goes and hits the wall all the way over there 3 foot away, or if the light's
Yeah, plants don't care about a sphere.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, the sphere is important so that we can compare apples to apples.
It's scientific data, and
Yes.
a light, it's like horsepower. Like if
Well,
I
they
put
use
two
that too
cars
to
on a
help to,
dyno, you could say this one is 1,000 horsepower, this one
and
is
they use
900
that to
horsepower.
calculate the efficiency, so they can say, okay, well, you're putting out this much light, you're using this much electricity, boom, this is your efficiency. So it's
Right, and
important
there's other
to do
stuff like
things
with
like that.
cars, aerodynamics. Like
Yeah.
a Mustang could have more horsepower than a Corvette, but the Corvette will smoke the Mustang on any
Yeah.
race that has a
Real
curve.
world test. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like if you have to go around a corner, and even in the straight on races on drag races, a Corvette with like 600 horsepower, I've seen beat 775 horsepower Mustangs because the Mustang is so blocky. It's just this big, bulky
A
thing.
little bit heavier
They
too,
look
yeah.
cool, but it's just like a sheet being pushed through the wind where the Corvette's sleek. That wind, it's like water. It's like a boat. It wants to cut through.
Cut through it.
Fluid dynamics and aerodynamics are very similar. So the reason that super boats and super jets and super cars often look kind of real smooth and slick is because that's how they get the best aerodynamics and the most efficiency. And in lighting, it's just like there's other things like good drivers, good wiring, good diodes, um, evenly spacing them, not overclocking them. There's lots of different factors that go in. Like if one light has 1,000 diodes on it, and another one has 500, and they're both
Yeah.
500-watt lights, then the one with 1,000 diodes is going to be clocked way less and be just generally more efficient
It's
because
gonna
they
be
invested in the material. That's why
yeah,
I say
and
quality is
more
cheaper in the long
importantly, it's
run.
gonna last longer because it's just think
Yep.
about it. It's like, do you want an engine that of a car that's been ran with its fucking pedal to the metal full open, or do you want one
Red
that's
line.
run half? And that's kind of the case with it's one of the sneaky ways LEDs, some LED, I'm not saying LED companies, some LED companies, the sneaky ones will sell you a light with a good spectrum and but way fewer diodes than a lot of the competitors. And
And they goose the numbers.
what that means is they have to overdrive or they have to send more electricity into those diodes to produce that same light that other companies are using far more diodes and doing a lower current. That what that means is that your output's going to, deteriorate faster.
It's
So
just like a
yeah, that's
computer.
the important
Like
one.
you can overclock your hard drives and stuff, but then you have to like run more cooling. Your hard drive won't last as long. Your cooling won't last as long. So it's like, yeah, okay, it could go from 2 efficiency to 2.5 or something. Like maybe you're a video game player and you want to fucking clock it all the way up so that you can run the HD graphics on the newest game or something. Your laptop's like cooking over here, or even like the tower computers that they make. I've seen like liquid cooled, air cooled, and all this types of stuff. But you know, it does have to take into consideration efficiencies because interestingly enough, actually, it is going back to the fan on board. Have you seen any of that recently, Spartan Ground? Admittedly, some of the more cheaper entry level stuff,
No,
but
that's
yeah,
I
it's
have not, and the reason that a lot of the companies got away from doing that. It was the same reason they kind of get away from doing it in computers, and that is that the longevity of that fan isn't, in a grow room where people are spraying things and it's high humidity. Those fans will fail way faster than you think, and there goes your fucking heat cooling capacity, which it's going to get your room hot in a hurry. So it's a fail point that is not. I don't know. It's just I think it's bad practice. I
hard to
think it's bad
justify.
practice. I mean, it's great if
More
if
points
you're
of failure is
designing.
worse.
Well, if you're, this is going to sound terrible of me, and I apologize to all the eggheads out there, but if you're an egghead in a fucking lab designing a light to be a good, efficient light, you may design a light with a fan on it, not realizing that this thing's going in a grow room. You put it in a grow room, that fan's going to fail so quick. Not guaranteed, but almost. I mean, it's going to pick up and it's going to pick up so much stuff. And the cooling of the light is essentially the longevity of the light. So you have to take it seriously. And so if you're going to skimp, don't skimp there. I mean, Jesus. Don't skip on the heat sink. Don't throw a fan in there. Um, you can skimp in a
It's
lot
so
of other ways, but don't do that.
it's funny because it's kind of counterintuitive because a lot of brands like HLG, Phylos, uh, Migro, GML, they're more of these printed circuit board style or bar styles that are basically like a bunch of small printed circuit boards that are just in strips. And because they're so thin and they're so spread out, they don't actually get that hot. So the heat sink is very minimal. Like my chip on board Cobb LED that I'm still rocking, getting over 2 grams a watt every harvest up until my last one. Um, the heat sinks on that thing look like Sonic the fucking Hedgehog, dude. They're like 4 inches long and they're like, I think they're aluminum, but they're like fucking nice, thick. It looks like a bunch of spikes, like steel
Like
spikes
a
coming off the
spiky
back.
hairstyle, like somebody pulling
Yeah.
their hair back. Yeah.
I dug it, dude. I thought they were badass looking,
Yeah,
and
I
it
like
takes up a little bit more space, but like, dude, they definitely crank. And this is goes to admit, I was a victim of the bro science, and I came from like the HPS, metal halide, and went to the CMH, and I thought CMH were fucking amazing. They did great. I was like one central point of like good quality light does a kick-ass job. So I was like two Cobbs is similar to like my 315, you know? And I was like, they're full spectrum, similar spectrum, and they have a nice intensity because they're real packed in there. Like that Cobb that might be that big has like hundreds of little diodes on there. It's like real intense. I'm like, it's more like felt more like a metal halide or CMH or something like that than it did an LED. And then come to find out, as I saw the years and years go past, they don't even, that company has changed names. They used to be called Timber Grow Lights. They're called like High Grove LED now, out of San Diego. So shout out to them. But all the lights they make were too big for my space. So the one that I have, I just kept rocking because I didn't over crank it, and so it's still fucking putting out great light. And I added some other custom stuff, like I added some reds and some blues to it um, through Redshift PCB or Ohm's Law, and that was like a little custom DIY project just to get a little bit more boosted points in the spectrum. And then similarly, just like I saw myself be wrong about the Cobb being the next technology, know who was really wrong with that? And this isn't like a shot at them. They might not even be in the space anymore. Um, Black Sail LED. They had
oh
these
yeah, it's
these
cannons.
Cobbs that were like the size of my microphone, and they were just giant, huge cannons, and they had like a huge heat sink. No joke, like as big as my
Shout
microphone,
out to
a
Black
foot
Sail
tall.
though. Cool ass fucking dude, man. He was such a cool
Good
dude.
dude for sure. But he was going with the
Yeah.
central
Yep.
one single point of light because all the HPS growers and all the OGs, that's what they were asking for. But then science, data cultivation, all this shit like Phylos, I think is the one, not Phylos. I said Phylos earlier, but it's not Phylos. What the fuck was the name of their grow light? Who is the early one? The spider.
The spider.
Fluence,
Oh,
not
Fluence.
Phylos.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fluence LED,
Fluence.
in my opinion, was the early pusher of the bar style LED. They were on it so early, with the red boosters, with, really wide, where you could slam it down low to the canopy, and they were doing those multi-tiered grows. They were the first ones I saw really push that. Miami Mango and his crew got on it pretty quick with Think Grow LED. I know even I'm a big fan because I still use their light for my veg space, and they give money to special needs kids, and I work with special needs kids to, in general, but they help them grow vegetables and stuff. But not GML, it's
HLG.
HLG, Horticulture Lighting Group.
Yeah.
The three-letter acronyms. It's like alphabet soup in the cannabis world sometimes.
Yeah.
But Horticulture Lighting Group, uh, they make pretty good lights. And even back in the day when it was just like square printed circuit boards, like they put enough diodes on there. They use the high quality diodes. They use good drivers, and they grow good cannabis. So it's like there's no two ways about it. I really enjoyed and still do enjoy their grow light. And they even went away from, like, they had like I think the Scorpion or like the black whatever. Those last ones I saw, they had like three on each side. So it was like three little mini panels versus one giant square, where like the um R
Yeah,
spec, the 550 or whatever R spec was still one big giant rectangle or one big giant square. And then right after that, the Scorpions or whatever, and all the other Black Eagle, whatever the heck they called it. I haven't admittedly kept up because I haven't been in the light market.
yeah, they
But
basically took and made
all of
PCB
them,
boards and they just made a bunch of them, but spread them out. So it's like I think it's three or maybe there's eight or three on each side, so there'd be
it might be
six
three
or
three
eight.
or 4-4. But
Yeah,
essentially, it's just
yeah,
going.
yeah.
It's like six and one, half dozen the other at this point.
Just
It's like
refusing to admit that a bar style would be better. They did make one bar light, I believe, but yeah, HLG unfortunately I think has fallen a little behind everybody because of their. I don't know who is making the decision, but whoever is like they just don't want to conform to the bar style. So I think
I
that's
think they're
really
really
where.
attached to the PCB,
Yeah,
the
I
printed
think so
circuit
too.
board. I think they're even calling it something different for a while. Quantum board. That's
Yeah, I
what it
think they did
is.
patent the
They called it
quantum board.
quantum boards, and that's what it is. They wanted to stick to the quantum board because I think they patented that name for PCB, a printed circuit board, which, in my opinion, is a little bit silly. But I think they were at least like importing from Korea and manufacturing in the US. I could be wrong about that. Um,
I think they had some manufacturing in the United States.
yeah. There was
I
another
think
one
it's
like Detroit
Kentucky.
LED was doing the same thing. They would import Korean like chips and boards, and then they manufactured it on their own lines.
Yeah.
Um, so cool to see. But that said, even like the funniest thing to me is, and I guess it shouldn't be that funny, but like Mars Hydro has been in the game. They're like a fucking OG. They've been around since the Blurple era. And we've seen Mars Hydro go from Blurples to like, okay, they're starting to get full spectrum LEDs, but they're like weird form factors. They had like they were doing quantum board style. They had like a quantum board with like an aluminum foil reflector on all four sides, and it was like a rectangle. And then from that, they got that long, skinny one, like the SP 2000 or whatever that Dr. MJ did double side by side. Now they've got like the FC 3000s or whatever that are like just straight up bars that they've copied the Fluence or GML or whatever other style, the bar light style that is, I think, with just the physics of it, right? Like science is science, and like distributing light across a space is like a understood thing. Whether it's like a basketball arena or a grow room, like to get light evenly distributed, you need multiple points of light. You're not going to have just
Right.
one giant ass light in the center of an arena. You're going to have a bunch of lights high up, and they're going to put out a shit ton of light.
But the
And in a
thing
grow
is
setting,
I think the thing that's driving it is not the efficiency of the light itself, because they're getting really efficient now, but people are still wanting to, businesses are still feeling the pinch. And when you have hundreds of lights, if you can move one light closer to your plant and reduce the intensity by 10% and get the same yield, this is an if, I didn't say it's guaranteed, but that kind of concept, and then you times it by your 100 lights, that's fucking worth it, man, especially over a year. So,
I don't even think
it's
it's an
like
if,
pushing
man. I've worked
efficiencies
with,
more.
and yeah, I know you have as well. We've both worked in large enough commercial operations or consulted with them to provably say, I've seen this go from X to Y, and they made small changes that made large improvements. And like some of these big operations, if somebody like you or I or Noah walked through and you're like, and you actually take our advice, change this, change that, they can get 10% or more. That was when I was going into consulting before I started. I didn't never advertise it, but I was going to say I could improve your grow by 10%. That was going to be my like marketing pitch because like most business owners, shit, yeah, I'd love an extra 10%. I'll get you 10% more yield, or I could increase whatever cannabinoid or terpene production that you're aiming for. But it's just, I was so confident in that because there's so many ways to fuck up
Yeah.
that you could just walk around and be like, this is wrong with the watering. This is wrong with the nutrients. This is wrong with the lighting. This is wrong with the AC. This is wrong with the HVAC. This is wrong with the IPM. There's just like a million ways to do it wrong. And there's also probably 100 ways to do it right. And we've all found our own, path within that 100 that like combines this and that. But there's also like myself, I'm admitting from earlier, I was a victim of the bro science to the I need that one big strong sun, that single point of light. And so even with my cobs, the first thing I did was add halos, right? That were outside of that cob, that were more points of light, that spread it out more. and different spectrum. I added the 730 nanometer and the 660 nanometer to get the Emerson effect. And then I did the, run it a few minutes after lights on and a few minutes before, or a few minutes before lights on and a few minutes after lights off to kind of put it to sleep and wake it up kind of thing. So learning those sort of effects that you can mimic and trigger within the plant, it's really interesting stuff. And I think it's still actually lesser applied. And I do think I notice my grows significantly benefit from just plain 3500 spectrum to adding the reds and the blues and then doing the whole Emerson effect. Where I would run the 730 all day long. That's what a lot of people realize. They think it's only the going to bed and waking up thing.
Yeah,
I would run
that's a
them all
huge
day long.
preach, please preach, Jack, because my God, that's the one message I would love to get to people about lights. And I know how lighting can be a difficult subject, but just try it. If you have the ability, if you have far red and you're running it, the common one that I hear is I'm going to run the far red 10 to 15 minutes after lights out, right after lights out, like a red flash. And I want to put the plants to sleep. And I'm not saying that doesn't work. But what I'm saying is it probably doesn't work if you run it during the light cycle. So you don't have to do that at all. Run it during the light cycle because then it's going to be in presence of 660 red too, and you will get the actual Emerson effects. A lot of people think the Emerson effect is what I just described, but that's not what the Emerson effect is. The Emerson effect is having the right combination of far red and 660, and you get a more efficient use of that light from the plant than if you have either one alone. So it just increases the efficiency of the plant with the light.
It's just like
And
the entourage effect with cannabinoids. Like if you just
yeah,
have THC distillate and you smoke that, you're only going to feel so much. But if you add CBD or if you add terpenes, then your high is going to be much more pleasant, much more elevated. And so just what like with the light, I think the Emerson effect was one of the early ones they understood. I'm sure with time they're going to find out that like how Spartan and GML and Science and all these people that have been doing spectrum tuning, hitting it with tons of different spectrums, changing the spectrum throughout the grow. Like we're gonna find out more and more. There's more Emerson effects out there. I'm sure there's some blue phenomenon in
yeah,
flower that creates terpenes, or there's
absolutely is.
some
Absolutely. We've
intensity.
seen it already.
Yeah. And it's just gonna be waiting until good science is done across the board to see exactly how, when, and what is being impacted and how to best apply. Because it's going to come down to best practice. Like, what are you growing for? What do you want? Do you want high terpenes? Do you want high cannabinoids? There's only so much. We're going to say 50%, or call it 40%. I think that's more of a fair mark. But like 40% of cannabinoids, terpenes, and all the other desirables. The other stuff's going to be generally considered undesirable fats, lipids, water, waxes, and things that don't give people a medicinal experience or a recreational high. But at the end of the day, I think we're really in that sort of bioscience space where we're trying to manipulate a living thing throughout multiple different seasons of the year and trying to get it to consistently produce. It's a major challenge. So I'm just glad that equipment keeps getting better and more affordable. Like these Rainbird type things that were expensive and harder to find and like niche a few years back are now like built into, VivoSun has I think some fans that have the auto on and off based on the temperature, humidity. I know that the real quiet ones, AC Infinity,
AC
they've
Infinity,
got
yep.
they've got a really good system that's kind of like an Inkbird that it like hangs out on the outside of their tents that maybe even has like a pre-cut space for the sensors and stuff like Spartan was talking about. Like you're gonna take out space outside your grow room with extra stuff. They thought about that and they put just so when you walk up, you can already see here's my temp, here's my humidity. You can set the on off right there. Their stuff's really quiet. So who knows? Maybe I will invest in some AC Infinity because my VivoSun inline fan is going on probably like 8 years old and has pretty much been constantly on, other than like cleaning it occasionally. But
Still, that's a good testament to that's a good equipment, you know. And I think it really is a good cheap home grow topic with I mean with lighting. Don't think that something you've been growing good weed with for fucking the last 5, 10 years is somehow bad all of a sudden because something new came out. You can just supplement it. You don't have to give it away. You can throw in like all these little supplemental bars and you can even if you don't want to go and get the fancy controller, the light controller that would turn them on and off at different times. You can be that controller. You can physically take that bar that you just put in and take it out, put it in at certain times. If you want to, you can crop steer with light. You can go in and suppress stretch with blue light. You'll make your spectrum mostly blue in the early parts of flower, and you're going to suppress that stretch.
Or
And
bump
then
the
you can,
intensity, drop it
yep,
down. That'll also
intensity
squat them
too.
out because they don't love having too much light, and so they adapt by growing out and wide.
Yeah.
So you can definitely crop steer with the light alone.
Yeah, you don't have to limit yourself because you don't have the newest light. You can get supplemental lights and still do play around with different spectrums of light if you want to, or moving things around. Like I'm gonna bringing in. I love this stuff with GML Wither controller because it makes it easier for me, honestly. But to do things like that, like suppress stretch, or hey, if you were growing autoflowers, do the opposite. You know what I mean? Get hit it with a lot of far red and reds, and during that first part of that stretch, and it's going to stretch a lot, and you're going to grow these big, tall autoflowers that you're not used to. So I mean, there's things you can do that, even in some situations might be seen bad, in other situations be really good. And to have the ability to be flexible with even your lighting to deal with those situations, just one of those extra tools. And I'm always saying that it's just another tool in your tool belt to make you, a better grower.
And that flexibility is important because you got to expect the unexpected sometimes. Like you grow a plant that stretches a little more than you're expecting, and then you're like, oh, well, I read that it's good to prune within the first few weeks of flower, and then you do that and didn't realize that by pruning you accelerated the stretch even more, which is a Jack's lived experience there. I had a blue dream that I was pruning while it was stretching, and that just made it shoot up even crazier. So, if you have a plant that's stretching too much, let it finish the stretch before you start plucking. Is a little random piece of advice that I can give out of this. And the whole reason I was thinking of that is I've seen these lights that not only do they fold for like storage and shipment, but like some of them can like fold down and like up a little bit. So like on occasion, people that have overgrown their space tilt it up a little bit like that. So it's like kinked back and it gives them just enough. Or they'll use those lights on like the corners of the room so they kind of have side lighting, you know what I'm saying? So like they have like a 4x4 setup with like top lighting, but then like over on the side they have like it's a 4x8 and they're only growing in the 4x4. So they have like the other light hanging down
Oh
so it
yeah.
hits the top and side. And man, I've seen some people crush it.
That's kind of what we're doing with the underlighting now, honestly. You're just moving the light closer to the plant, so you can turn those lights down and not push so much watts through it, and you're getting those photons to the plant without them reducing too much. I mean, that's the whole idea. That's how you get more efficient now. It's like we're kind of hitting the wall on efficiency. So now how do you get more efficient? Get the lights closer. Now you can crank the power down on that light above and then take that power you just saved and put it below where you're not getting any light. Now you've just increased so much light down below at the same time, and you get more bang for your buck when it comes to total harvest yield, that kind of thing.
I think it'd be kind of fun to see who could grow, pick a number, like 100 grams, like a small amount. You can
And
even make it
you
like a one plant challenge with the lowest amount of electricity with you have to isolate, so it can't be like using the sun
we do
because
size. I'd
some people are
say
gonna.
4x4 space, maybe 500 watts electricity for lighting, and you can do whatever you want for everything else. And then hell, however you want to grow it, but maybe everybody have a cut of the same plant. And you can cut it up into 5 plants, or you can use just one in a DWC, whatever the fuck you want to do. But on your lighting alone, you can only use 500 watts, and you can go all the way around the top of whatever you want to do, but 500 watts total. That would be great to see.
I think it'd be fun to do a 100-watt challenge, a 200-watt challenge, a 300-watt challenge, a
Yeah.
400-watt challenge, and a 500-watt challenge. And you enter based on the thing, like those super green labs or whatever I showed on like Twitter in the past, that you can basically turn a shoebox into like LED strips up down the whole entire sides and stuff, and little mini PCBs with diodes. Like I- I'm thinking in theory, like you could literally have a plant covered 360 in light. That's like optimized. Like somebody would get like on the TISM spectrum with this and like measure every day and get the exact perfect distance so that like, okay, what's the lowest wattage I can run to get that 900 ppfd or whatever, 1000 ppfd, or maybe they're running CO2, so they push it to like 1200. And so they've got diodes literally surrounding. It's like the wall of doom in those movies. It's like coming in to crush somebody, but it's just like
Just strings of diodes.
perfectly
Just
lined. Every single corner of the plant is just
if you
surrounded
look
by
at,
light.
I mean, those outdoor cannabis plants, that's kind of what they're like. It's like, especially if you get them away from trees and shade and stuff, they really are getting lit up almost everywhere. You still got to clean the middles out a little bit, but you can get away with not doing a whole hell of a lot and still get a fucking huge harvest from just being out in the sun, getting good light
Yeah,
everywhere.
the sun is the OG. That's the light that everybody wants to. Everybody's playing second fiddle to. And although I'm not saying that outdoor is always going to be better than indoor, I think often is actually opposite the case. But if you get a good grow season, I think Breeder Steve said it best. I think recently it might have been an Eagle show, but he was saying of like the 10 out of 10s that he's had in his life, a lot of it comes from outdoor. Like he's got a lot of nines and 9.5s or whatever from indoor, but like the 10 out of 10s and stuff that really knocks your head back and just blows you away with flavor, highs, smells, etc. It's like stuff that was grown, usually selected for that region in a good season. And he even compared it to like wines. There's wines that like are famous and some years just suck compared to other years because they didn't get the right environment.
See, I've in my life, and this is a shared different experience thing, but especially Midwest maybe, but I have opposite experience usually. It's not always the case. There's definitely good outdoor, and I've smoked great outdoor for sure. But generally, outdoor is a derogatory term around here. It's like it's not considered something that's of high, even expected to be high quality.
Oh, I get that being from Ohio because the stuff that was grown in the cornfields or in people's backyards or whatever often got molded out or rained out or snowed out randomly sometimes. And so never had great outdoor growing up, except for a random handful of circumstances with some real skunky stuff that was allegedly grown by the natives and I think acclimated to the region. However, when I moved out here to California, everything. The carnivorous plant guy, Flora Horrors, he's like, "Oh, dude, the plants are gonna be really happy out there." Like most of the carnivorous plant community is actually in California. So, like I went through all of his pitcher plants, and the Ventrata, whatever, the one that I selected, is I won't ever have to take it inside. Like a couple of the more exotic ones, like during winter in my area, I would have to bring it inside during like the coldest parts of the winter. During just some of the night times, it would get a little too cold. The one that I selected is like hardy. It grows fast. I saw this picture of some when I clicked the hashtag because I use the proper name or whatever on Instagram. That's something that's not real suppressed. Fucking buy yourself some carnivorous plants and take pictures of them and post them because they're not gonna blacklist you or whatever for that. So I'm like checking out some other lady who's growing the same carnivorous, and like mine's maybe 3 feet tall. And it's this monster of a plant. It had like pictures everywhere. I was like, holy shit, dude, these things get huge. Like I'm stoked. I can't wait to have this like sitting next to my front door. It already ate something. It's a little picture was opened, and then you can see a little like black dot inside of it and snap down on top of it. And so they're active. They're doing their thing. And a couple of them, I don't know if they were bugs from his place or bugs from my place, but the little sticky ones had a couple bugs on them already. So I was like, hell yeah, they're kicking ass. And he's got great instructions on there. Flora Horrors, dude. That was a great episode last week. I got a lot of good feedback in the comments on X, on just DMs and stuff. But
It was a
good
cool
stuff.
show. It's always cool to see plants I haven't seen before and learn about them. I'm always super interested usually.
Then my buddy randomly, like Doja DNA, shout out to him. He bred the my favorite strain ever of all time, Spiked Punch. It was sent to me as Jack's Spiked Punch, biggest yielder, most potent thing I've ever grown. He asked me for the seeds back because he like lost his stock. So I sent him my remaining F1s and he made F2s himself. And so he's got a big collection of those and I'm eventually gonna get some of them. But he was just randomly back on one of his properties and sent me photos because he saw my post about the carnivorous plants. He's like, dude, check it out. I got like a couple. I got two of these on my property, and it was like a black and white version of a pitcher plant. They just grow naturally on his property, and so I was like, "Damn, dude, that's cool as hell!" Like
You're gonna have to get
just to
out there
see
and see
it.
if you can figure out how to propagate those, get a piece of it, and get you another one.
That would be cool, man. He's a great dude, and we've got a good history together. He is kind of all over the U.S. Shout out to Vegan Doja or Doja DNA. Great dude on a great mission, I think, getting good cannabis and other good shit out there to the people, and just one of the best, most down to earth people. I've been blessed by so many people in this community. There's so like so many people that I've actually gotten to meet have been it, oddly enough, even like Tommy Chong being one of them. Like you see all these movies and interviews and TV, whatever. You think, man, like he seems like a pretty chill guy. I've been told don't meet your heroes because oftentimes they're assholes and they might meet them in like passing and it might be quick and you might meet them on a bad day. They might have had some bad shit happen. Who knows? But he hung out with us for like 3.5, almost 4 hours, smoking for 3.5 of the 4 hours and was couldn't be cooler, dude. Was like exactly, and he's come on the Percy's Grow Room podcast and other, I think the UK 420 Grow Room. I'm probably fucking up the name, but the UK guys have had him on the podcast a couple times, and he's just like
Yeah,
super
he
chill and down to earth.
comes
Like
on
he is
the
that
Let's Be
dude.
Bud show. We've had him on a couple times, and every time you just want to sit there and listen to it. It's like talking to Grandpa, listen to the stories of good old days, man. Especially, I love talking to Tommy because he's got connections to Detroit and the early Motown scene. A lot of people don't realize how
He
musical,
goes way back, dude.
yeah, how
OG. He's
musical he was. We did a whole show just the
he
musical
started
side of him.
he started way back like with comedy and doing stuff in Canada and comedy being kind of I knew this doing a little bit of comedy myself. You're doing a lot of open mics, and a lot of open mics aren't just comedy open mics. You're doing them right alongside other up and coming artists and usually musicians. And oftentimes you're the comedian telling jokes at an open mic that people are there to listen to music at a bar or whatever, and you're getting fucking heckled and shit. So some tough times there. But yeah, Tommy Chong, man, great history, music, comedy, acting, great chops, and just like couldn't be more humble. Like beautiful wife who's also very talented, and just a great dude, you know. Nobody's perfect, obviously. You know, I'm sure you could send me something that you don't like that Tommy Chong said somewhere. You got offended by something, whatever. Who cares? But damn, that's I would. I'll tell you this: if you're gonna meet Cheech or Chong, meet Chong.
Meet Chong.
Meet Chong, dude.
Dude, he walks
Cheech,
the walk. He talks the talk. Dude, he's been talking. I've seen him at Hash Bash, one of the biggest protests in the Midwest, hell, in the country for the last time. So it's not like he's just full of shit either. He does a lot for the movement.
he's legit. The reason that like those movies happened, it was because Chong, not because Cheech. So don't get it twisted. Cheech, as soon as it wasn't convenient, went into a TV show and became a police officer. He was on like something Blue Bloods or something like that, and stayed away from the cannabis scene for a long time until it became legal again. So now he's cashing in on it again. Just and as he deserves to. He did put himself out there in those early days, and Cheech and Chong is legendary, and he was half of that duo. So I'm not trying to like kick him or knock him too hard, but like I would say like of those two, man, fucking Tommy Chong is so legit.
I wasn't looking at its neck, man. You remember that from Up in Smoke?
Oh man, there's so many good lines.
Oh yeah, that when I was growing up, the Up in Smoke was so good. The scene where he's walking around, he has the Ajax on the plate, and the chick grabs the dollar bill and snorts, and she's oof, oof. Oh man, yeah.
I love it
Up in
when they're
Smoke was
getting.
so good when I was young.
Was that the one where they come across the border and they like throw the joint and the nuns get busted next to them?
I can't remember if that is.
They have like the whole
It's
van is made out of cannabis and they're like
yeah, yeah,
bringing it
yeah.
across
Oh
the
no, I
border.
I watched them all. I watched them all
I get them
growing
mixed
up.
up, admittedly,
Up in
the
Smoke,
titles.
Up in Smoke was the best one for sure. But I'm pretty sure that's the one where Chong is living at home with his dad and he's like making the smoothie and he's like telling him about trying to get him to get a job, and then that's when he go yeah, oh yeah, that's such a good movie. And yeah, Chong everybody, like you said, they have their opinions, but Chong was a cool character and definitely nostalgic for me being an older guy growing up. That was big, when I was growing up.
I've got a couple people I follow that are called like Dave's not here. The Dave. It's like Dave's not here, man. That fucking skit. Those are like I think those were on vinyls, like before they were ever even turned into like movies or actual bits. But they used to do like comedy records back in the day on vinyl. So they've been at it for a long, long time.
It was so funny
Uh
just because that could easily happen. You know what I mean? That was what made that so funny. It was like, yo, who is it? It's Dave. No, Dave's not here, man. No, it's Dave. No, I told you Dave's not here. Just some
Open
stupid shit
up,
like that.
man. Oh
Yeah, and
man.
Yeah,
then when
I
those
can see
movies were
that.
big in like the 90s and the early 2000s, that was really before cell phones were mainstream. So there was a lot more of those type situations and a simpler time and a good movie was you just it wasn't like everyone had their phone. You go over to your buddy's house, he's watching Up in Smoke. That's what everybody was watching. You go over to your buddy's house, he's watching Half Baked. That's what everybody's watching. You know what I mean? Dazed and Confused. There was all these movies that me and my buddies just watched. I've probably seen Dazed and Confused 30 times. So
I'm that way with that, and also Don't Be a Menace in South Central is one that I watched a bunch. I think when DVDs came
yes,
out, I got a burned copy of
Another one
that.
for me, a little bit more obscure, but I still love it just the same as I throw in the same as all of those is The Big Lebowski.
That's a funny one.
So
I also
yeah,
throw
of
in How
course, that's a
High.
great
I
one.
love
That's
love
probably
Method
better than
and
all
Red.
those.
Big Lebowski is legendary. That's like cult-like status, dude. People love that movie like obsessively. It's it's definitely got a cult following. That's like Jay and Silent Bob status, I think, for me. Like in terms of like
that's another good one.
relatively like I don't know if Big Lebowski is independent or not, but it seemed like more of a not
I
major.
think it was one that wasn't very popular in the movies, but then became a cult hit later. And it's so good. I don't know. I love
Dude,
that
one I
fucking
love that's
movie.
like that you perfectly just described is called Idiocracy.
That's another, yeah, I agree with you.
That one because I got
Dude, that
like
is such a good movie.
it's insanely good. It's like it's definitely crass and like watching it today like with anybody who's like easily offended would probably not love that movie. However, it is man, like they hit so many nails on the head so long. Like it's not a new movie and you could watch it today and be like these fuckers predicted the future. Like they saw it and they wrote it and they just nailed it. And even just like the little stuff like they got sponsored by Costco and then
I
like in
was
the movie
oh
they
my
kind
God,
of
I just turned the microphone on. Welcome to Costco. I love you.
and it's so true. It's like how long until that's actually the thing, right? And it's like, but Costco didn't like that, and neither did the other commercial people that sponsored them. And so it like basically didn't get released in any big movie theaters. Like they shut it down. Like there's big actors like Luke Wilson, Terry Crews. Like it's a huge production that just got kind of memory hold. So I try to bring it up every now and again because it is grow related because they have a hilarious bit that like they have some drink. I can't remember what it's called.
Gatorade.
Is oh so it
Oh
is
no,
Gatorade.
no,
It's
I know what you're
Yeah, it's
talking
like
about, but
Gatorade,
yeah.
but it's like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
something
not
that's like
Bondo,
it's what
but
the
something
plants
like that.
crave.
Bondo or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Brondo. So the Brondo,
Brondo,
it's
that's
what
what
the
it is,
plants
yes.
crave. And so they think because humans benefit from electrolytes, that plants must benefit from electrolytes. And they're like calling this guy stupid for the main character is like frozen for like 1,000 years from 2000 and then he wakes up in like 3000 or something along that line. And he starts suggesting that they use water for the plants. And they're like, you mean the stuff in the toilet? Like,
Yeah.
and it's just like it's kind of talking about like the de-evolution of society because of like social media and other causes, bad food and all sorts of shit media and things like that. So it's quite a good cultural critique, I would say, wrapped in really inappropriate humor. So like if you're into like I don't know 2000s Spike TV era type stuff, you won't be too offended by it. But my whole spiel aside, I think anybody who hasn't already seen it should check it out.
Yeah, it definitely hits home on quite a few points. Very relevant to today.
It's like the one that I really feel is like the most intelligent people I know generally are not having any kids or tons of kids. And then I won't go into the alternative, like the opposite of that, but it tends to be some people have lots and lots of people without much planning, or lots and lots of kids. And it's not always the case. There's, and intelligence is not just easily measured. I think there's lots of different forms. So if people want to have kids, then they should. And if they don't want to, they shouldn't have
And
to.
if you have enough kids, you don't have to pay taxes. I think it's 12.
Is that what it is?
I think it's what it is.
Is that a federal thing or a state
Yeah,
thing?
I think it's a federal thing.
Dude, I wonder if I had a buddy who was one of 12. I wonder if his parents were
Why?
like, they knew.
Why else would you have 12 kids? Are you insane? Oh my God, you never want to sleep again for the rest of your life?
Imagine being the dude who has 11 kids.
Yeah, you're just like, can I adopt, please?
Like Nick Cannon, like 11 kids from like 8 different moms.
Well, that's what I'm
I think he might
thinking.
have 12.
That's what I think their strat is. That's Elon and Nick Cannon. That's their strat is trying to get up here.
Someone asked him the other day, "Can you name all of your kids?" And he was like,
Oh God.
"This is a setup. This is just designed to make me look bad."
What? Yeah, that's gonna make you look bad, dude. What?
It's like, yeah, if you don't remember their fucking names, you're obviously not involved in their lives. Like the buddy I knew, like I played football with this guy. His parents knew all of them. And there's a comedian I follow who's also, I think, one of 12, Charlie Barons. I think it's a Midwest dude. It's pretty funny. And he's from a huge family like that. And remarkably, some of these people come out fairly well adjusted and have, love in their life and good families and people around them. So it's
No, that's cool, man. If you can afford to do that, or you have enough land or something, and everybody can chip in and kind of like you'd almost forced to live off the land, which is like I don't know. I would love to be able to do that, but do I have enough energy to do all of those things by myself? Like it'd be cool to plant a field of wheat, but then to shuck it and I don't even know what y'all to do to make that into flour and God,
it's a
that's a lot of work.
process.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's
it's just like
labor, dude. It's labor. There's a reason that people left voluntarily the fields for the
yeah.
Industrial Revolution to go into the factories, which we have talked about. Like you said, there's a lot of people from Detroit. They're sore
Hey,
and achy and they use cannabis because they worked in the factories.
most of my
And
life is factory work, man.
so, I mean, it's not easy, but that was the alternative to field work, which was much hotter, dangerous. It could be snakes, heat stroke, fucking bees, or who knows what the fuck. But farm equipment failing
Well, the
or
temperature
landing on
control,
or
that's what
hitting
you
you.
get. That's what you get them is temperature control. You go, oh, I can work inside where it's temperature controlled. Sign me up.
Yeah. Yep. I do think that some people would probably voluntarily get back into the farm life if they realized what maybe factory work might entail or how it. I even think like over office work. Fuck, I'd rather be in a field than under fluorescent tube lighting
Oh
in a
yeah, me too.
cubicle.
I
But
worked on a lot of factories that didn't even have windows. So like
that's a big thing.
you didn't even know what it was like outside.
I feel like that's so inhumane. Like, was there
You
a
get so used to it though, because
benefit?
the lights are so
Was it
bright in there. The lights are so bright that you don't notice it's like fucking the like 12 o'clock daylight in there all the time.
feels
So
like a casino almost, like
yeah,
disorient.
yeah. It really is. And then when you get to long shifts, I had jobs, not well, I guess long ago now, but 3 or 4 jobs ago, I had jobs where I was working 12-hour shifts. So it's 3 12-hour shifts. So you're in there for under 12 hours of light and everything. And your body's almost surprised when you walk out that door and it's dark out or whatever. You're like, whoa, what the heck? It's the middle of the night. It is a weird, jarring kind of experience.
Surprised you didn't go into flower after being
I
under 12
did.
hours of
I
light.
did. And I've gotten to the canvas field and I've been flowering ever since, man.
There you go. It pushed you.
It's just I need
It
that extra
activated
light.
your photo period.
Yeah. I need extra light.
Enough 12-hour cycles and Spartan Grown was like, fuck this. I'm ready to be a plant or part of a plant, growing plants.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
how are things at the plant growing plant, the mini version? I know you were mechanical
It's
for a long time, but you got the Trichome Forge going on now.
yeah, the Chicon Forge, we just have well, we've got a run in the flower room now, but it's still kind of early on for them. But the we have a couple that are looking really good. We had a cut. Fuck, it's called Black Beauty. I don't remember what the cross is on it, but it's either early finisher or a just massive yielder because she is fat as hell and she's like halfway through, like I think week 5, week 4, something like that. So that's a exciting development. But I'm excited for our next run, and I should look it up on Instagram because he posted it. But it's a bunch of the stuff that I told him. It was funny because we're sitting at the Gems and Genetics event, and I'm looking around, but I'd like to go to other booths and try to find the same thing, some concentrates that should new flavors, you know. And honestly, I didn't see, maybe a couple booths that had that were obviously trappers that had, just high high quantity with low quality. We'll just say that to be the nicest possible way. And I'm sorry if you have a turkey bag on your table outside in the heat, I'm gonna walk past your booth and not even stop. I'm just not gonna trust that you give a shit. So, especially concentrate. But I did find a few people with some good concentrates there, but nothing was on the funky side of thing. Nothing was GMO-y. Nothing was even chemi. Nothing was even gassy. And
All fruit.
yeah, I'm like, what the? Not that I don't like fruit, but what the fuck? So, our next run, I gotta look it up, but it's all like I think we got our Donny Burger in there. I think we've got a GMO. If it's not a GMO, if everything else, if it's not GMO, it's got like GMO cross in it, something like that. So they're all stanky, just foul kind of burger on there. Here we go. It is going to be uh Han Solo burger, so we know that one is good off the rip. Then we got TK burger, which is another skunk house seed. And then we got Dark Rainbow from Archive Seed Bank, which is a GMO cross, I believe. And then we got, I can't see what another Donny Burger. So we got two Donny Burgers. That's sweet. I didn't know we had two. So we got two Donny Burger. No, one Donny Burger. It's Han Solo Burger. GMO times Larry OG. So we got a Han Solo Burger, which I'm stoked about. A Donny Burger, which come on. And then TK Burger, I'm like, whatever, but it might be good. Uh, Baked is really excited about it. And then Dark Rainbow, which is the GMO cross. So it should bring a bunch of foulness and hopefully we can stink up Michigan a little bit.
Bring the funk back to the market.
Yeah, I'm like, no, this is a hole that has to be filled like instant. We have to fix this now. It's like,
Wasn't Mitten Canico like kind of calling themselves like the House of Garlic for a little while? And
but they
have they
were, and they
moved?
still grow a lot of it. But we were at that event. There wasn't any really licensed market there.
Ah, I see.
So yeah, so you weren't going to see any but those guys there. So yeah, but yeah, that's definitely a hole that's going to be filled.
That's what's up. I
Yeah,
think the micro craft scale needs more than just fruit for sure. And
absolutely.
garlic and funk
Especially
are
especially in the caregiver market, right? So you want to bring as a caregiver, you want to bring something medicinal, and I'm telling you, Donny Burger is fucking one of the most medicinal strains I've smoked since GG4.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
It's one that
So
I could confidently put in my top five from the last decade and know that 10 years from now I'm gonna like still be able to say Donnie Burger is an icon. It's
yeah.
funny because it's kind of a silly name,
And
but
then not really it's hilarious. Once I didn't even know the name. I mean, I knew Donny Burger, but I didn't know what that was, what that entailed. So I looked it up and saw the clip of the movie. I was like, that's hilarious. But I generally hate male names on female plants. That's like one of my pet peeves. It annoys me. But Donny Burgers, I just like it's just good enough to where I can see past it.
it feels like Bubba to me. Like I think of Bubba as like a male name, but like I met a guy today named Bubba, which funny enough, his actual name is Larry. And I'm like, this dude's got like two fucking legendary weed strain names or whatever. He's like, everybody calls me Bubba, but my real name's Larry. I'm like, damn, dude, like that's legendary. But yeah, Bubba I think is another one that kind of gives me like the male ring, but
Or
I get over
Granddaddy
it
Beard.
because yeah, Daddy, yeah, that's another one. GDP. Easier to call it GDP.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, and GDP is reg, so you could definitely get males. Um, it pollinated, I think, the something to make Larry OG to make Purple Punch. So that's a viable daddy that
Viable
turned
daddy
into
genetics.
turned into a lot of other genetics that are still popular. I think like the rainbow belts and some of the stuff you're talking about has some of that in the DNA. I think I looked up at Black Beauty and I didn't find too many things. It might be from 7eastgenetics.com says Purple Bliss crossed to Grunts. They said we needed a pairing to add some vigor to the Purple Bliss. And she's a slow grower, so they had a beautiful Grunts, which is Gushers Runts. And so they crossed those two to make Black Beauty. It looks pretty good.
That
I'm
might
not
be
sure if
it.
it's them or not, but that's the only Black Beauty that I found that's got like a lineage that looks like something Big Pone would probably pick up. And 70s genetics, I think, is pretty legit.
Yeah, that's something that he said that it had runs in the genetics, so that's probably the one.
I actually like runts. It's probably gonna come to the unpopular opinion of some, but it I have a few different phenos of runts in the 50 strains of purple. And gelato, for example, I bulked all into one strain, even though there's like gelato 33, gelato 41, there's the Barry Bonds, the Larry Bird, the whatever you want to get into with gelatos. But in my personal experience and opinion, there's just like not as much of a difference between the gelatos as there is between like pink runs is a lot different than runs is a lot different than white runs. Like, and the names aren't that different, but the flavors are way different. Like, so I think, and I personally think when they're grown well, they're actually all pretty decent, similar to like Z or Skittles, stuff that
Yeah,
gets,
Runts is getting to the point to be like OG. Like it could mean a lot of things.
yeah. Well, and it's also getting blue dreamified along with a lot of these other strains that get so popular, they become a victim of their own popularity. People start renaming shit as it when it's not it. So getting the real stuff from real people, verified sources is a cool thing to be able to do. Like you were talking about not having good outdoor, and I was just like, dude, if you ever get a chance to try Mendo Dopes cannabis at any point, I think that might be to me they're one that has hit a 10 on my ratings, which their passion orange guava, it's going to be really hard for anyone to top that. Like the flavor was so immaculate, the high was so long lasting and so good. Like the smell, it was a 7% terpenes in the California legal market, like while regulation was coming down pretty heavy on labs. It's like a year or two ago, and like labs are still getting pretty tightly regulated. And that jar I kept for like a year after, and it still smelled like the fucking passion orange guava. It was empty jar, smelled just like the strain. It was unbelievable. Like it stained the jar with that flavor.
Fucking believe it, man. Those guys know what's up. They're good
They
fucking
grow
performers too, man.
fire.
They performed at that event. That's
I
fucking
love their music. They're
yeah,
big Michigan. They've got a huge Michigan following, I should say. Like I
yeah,
was gonna say they support Michigan, but Michigan supports them. They show up and people go crazy for them. So I get it. I think they might have more support in Michigan than probably Southern California, for all I know. Like I don't see them doing a lot of like San Diego shows or anything. I see them in Michigan a few times a year. So
yeah.
uh, they know a good cannabis community. You know,
Yeah, they
NorCal and Michigan have a lot in common. In fact, so.
yeah, it does seem like that we're very common and it's funny. I still see driving down the roads, man. I'll still see California plates and I always think, "Oh, you guys are running back and forth, aren't you?"
Some of that's still happening for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, to be real, man, it's not the Wild West has not ended. We're
Oh
still
no.
living in it. We're
Dude,
still living in
there's
it.
still a bunch of
The Wild West,
a lot of states that still have,
we've settled.
lucrative laws.
I mean, there with any ban or overregulation, you open up a rich black market. I mean, if you make a tax much higher than 20%, you're not going to collect much re of the overall revenue. Like
And
people are
push
going to hide it and change it and do it
yeah.
unregulated.
Yeah, and it's like we did an interview recently on Let's Be Buds with Derek Shirley, and he's on online. He's known, at least on Instagram, as Getting High with Cats, and he's an activist out of Massachusetts, I believe. And he said it best, pretty much. Man, I'm paraphrasing for him, but it's like the reason that the black market exists is because of the federal government. That's the reason it exists, and it's like all this dragging of feet, and it's almost like, is this something that it's like you guys are in on this or something because you don't want it to happen. It's like, I don't understand why it's taken so long and it's been put on the back burner for so long to where you see all over half the states have already pretty much pointed out that, the law needs to change and it's still not changing. So
I
to
think it's
me,
powerful lobbies.
like when I see like overregulation by governments and I see governmental bodies and I just shake my head and I'm just like, you're just creating a black market. It's like
The
you
thing they
are to
don't,
blame for it. Then nobody else is to blame for it. But and
well,
then
the
you want
thing
to
they
go and
don't
punish other
know
people.
or care about until they get too deep into it is They think that they're just going to be competing against the other legal guys in their dream imagination. Oh,
Yeah,
well, now it's legal, so I'm only going to compete against the legal guys in the legal shops. But what they don't realize is the legacy market existed for 100 plus years prior
it
to them
always
ever
will.
getting into these
You
markets.
and another thing that they don't think about is that home grower is going to exist. People are going to grow their own, so they're going to demand at least some kind of equality. There's going to be, and I'm not saying everybody's going to home grow, but that's always going to be a percentage of the population that you're going to have to compete against, and just fucking accept it. You just grow better cannabis.
It
I
takes
don't
just
know
a
what else
few
to tell
diamonds in
you.
the rough too, a couple caregivers or a few, craft growers that let their product out there to the people for them to realize like, oh shit, like there's 10 out of 10s floating around. I'm accepting sixes and these pre-rolls are a one. I thought it was a seven. When I smoke that pre-roll, after not smoking for 2 days or something, you get a little buzz off of it, but it tastes like shit. Probably gonna give you a headache. If you smoke, if Spartan Grown handed you one of his homegrown pre-rolls, you're not even gonna be able to finish it if you're one of those types of people that's smoking that free pre-roll. You can take a few puffs off it and probably be too high. You're gonna have to put it out and come back to it later. Probably smoke it 3 times before you finish it. And so when you figure out, oh man, there's better quality that I can like smoke way less, get the same or better effects. That's the thing with me. Like I would rather have an eighth of really good shit than an ounce of garbage. Because I'll stretch that eighth. I'll fucking take huge long rips. I'll spread it out. But if I just have Mersh or mids, I like in Florida they call it Mersh, like commercial weed, and it's just garbage. It's
Yeah.
that was for like commercial black market stuff. That was just like Florida swamp grown, like just terrible conditions, but it flowered enough to have some resin content and it's smokable. Like if you smoke enough of it, you'll get high. You're probably gonna get a headache first. It might be fucking hemp for all we know. Who knows?
Or if you're new to it, you don't smoke a lot, it's enough. That's more, and that's where that move.
Entry level.
Yeah.
There's a place for it, just like there's a place for the white label seeds.
Hmm.
Uh, you know,
Or you're
you're not gonna
99 years
know.
old. Some people that are 99 years old, they don't want, and they're just legal. They don't want to jump in on a fucking, Donnie Burger dab. That's probably not a good idea.
No. Well, and like that makes me think about like earlier you were talking about people switching technologies going all the way back to like the lighting. Like I think there's certain people that are alive right now that could use like we were talking about just because a new light comes along doesn't mean your old light is so bad. And like I
Right.
think this is like no shot at Noah or anybody else who might be in this position. But I think there's gonna be people that are gonna just grow with HPS and till the rest of their life. They're just never gonna change. And I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with that. It works, it's legal, it gets the job done, and they know the quality that they can get with it.
There's still
And
people in the, it's not, Noah as a home grower is not like he's one of a, few. There's
no, he's
fucking
no
there's
unicorn.
commercial growers still
Oh
using
yeah.
HPS.
They
I
said
mean,
they were gonna ban it in California and they never did. Like every single grow that I see is still HPS. Like I see very, very honestly, very rare do you see an LED grow at the commercial scale. Like I think it's probably 8 to 2 or something. Like it's almost all HPS grows. Like some of the ultra modern, well-funded ones might have LEDs, but
so
the
now up
majority I
here,
think are
I-
HPS.
that's very much switching, at least here around here, but a lot of that's driven by the energy companies. So depending on where you're at, because I mean, literally here in Michigan on Consumers Power, which is most of the state, they're giving some fucking rebates to where commercial facilities are getting like our top of the line lights for free or next to free after rebate. So you're seeing a lot of these companies taking advantage of that because now you're not buying bulbs and that's instant, at least once a year. Sometimes the people are changing it twice a year. You see that pretty quick, especially at a big, large scale. You see that savings really save up or really add up. So I think HPS is still slowly dying off, but by no means is it dead.
77% of California's commercial market in 2024 was LED. So about three, I was wrong. So it's like 3 to 1, um, roughly for
But
LED
still, that
to
means still
HPS,
30%. That's
which
still
is
a
of
fucking
like a
fair
few
amount of
thousand
HPS bulbs going out. And I imagine,
permits, huge ass grows, still
yeah,
growing with HPS and still getting yields and still getting results that are acceptable enough
you
to
compete in a market with other people. using LEDs, which would be a huge disadvantage, you would think. So they must be doing
LEDs in an
something.
unregulated market. Talking about like people like me who can
Yeah.
just grow it in my house and then sell it or give it away for free to people. And like that's what they're competing against a minimum of 45,000 growers potentially because that's what was there was 50,000 that initially applied. And granted, there's some air in the growers and Brandon Rust out there that have moved out of California and grow elsewhere now. However, a lot of that 45,000 who didn't get permits are still growing and they're still here. And even like grandma and grandpa's here, like know a guy, or like their son, daughter, niece, nephew, grandkid knows somebody who can get them. Like if they just want flour, like they can just get that. They don't have to go to a dispensary. And there's still like unregulated delivery services, so they can just get dropped off to their door. And a lot of times they don't even know if it's like a legal delivery service or not because they just get an ad on Facebook or Instagram. It's like we got ounces for the low, hit us up, and
I still
a lot of times
think
it comes
that
through.
there's only two factors that would have HPS in the grow. The factor that I hope it would be is the grower. The grower of the grow said, I learned on HPS, so we're getting fucking HPS lights, and we're gonna make sure that at least is something I know. And we're gonna smash this out. I've seen that before and I understand it. But what I don't understand is like the people that say, we're gonna build this grow, we're gonna invest all this money into a license and all this other rigmarole, and then I'm gonna get HPS lighting because it's the cheapest lighting I can get into because the fixtures are cheaper than an LED fixture. I'm like, well, that's not a good. You don't cheap out on the light source, man. You shouldn't. I mean, I could understand if you're saying you want the light, you feel like it does better, whatever. But if you're just doing it because of money, that's not. I don't think that's a good reason. When light, I think I consider light source pretty high up there on my list of important things in the grow, like genetics. Probably number one, but light's pretty goddamn far up there. I guess you'd lump it into environment, but it's basically the food of your plant. When we give it nutrients and things like that, those are like vitamins, but they're not the everyday food. That's the light. And you want to make sure it's a decent light.
Well, like I gave the example last week with genetics. Like if you guys had Lowrider and I had Donny Burger, I'll outgrow you even if I have a Blurple. So if the genetics are like kept consistent, but then like the lighting is changed, like the better light can definitely make a difference. Like I'd actually rather have an HPS than a Blurple for sure, and especially modern HPS, like the double endeds and even like what I used to rock back in the day, 600-watt single ended HPS. Those things we were getting 2 pounds per light, so almost not quite 2 grams a watt, but over a gram a watt, and pretty damn efficient, especially back then when the prices were as good as they were, and the quality was actually damn good for we were harvesting early, and it still had good potency and smell and crazy resin production. Like you said, it's a known factor. So like if somebody came to Noah tonight and was like, Noah, I'm a multimillionaire and I just want to start a grow in your state. I've got $1 million or whatever. I'm just going to grant to you. Um, like he could say, well, I know HPS works. I'm going to start with that. So that would make sense. That's his thing that is a guarantee.
50
It's like, why would
50,
you?
70 30. That's what you'd have to do. And then you just brew bro science. I mean, uh, I still know people who have grown with LEDs that, I'm not like immune to it, but I still have yet to see some of the turret production, in my opinion. But I would do bro science, and then also it'd be a cost factor, you know. So if
I
you
think it'd
had
be cool to
got a
like have
budget, then you go from there,
flower room. Like if you could do like if you had 5 flower rooms, you do like 4 with HPS and 1 with LED, where
Hmm.
you've got your 4 that
Yeah.
you're really rocking it out, and then the one you're like, all right, I'm gonna try half of HLG and then half of GML of the LEDs to figure out which LED do I like, which one has the features that I like, which one has
Yeah.
the intensity that I like, or the other. There's a lot of just the production of the plant. How do the plants respond to it versus because I remember GML did that when he went to HLG. He
Yeah.
was under a bunch of HPS and then he got a bunch of the early horticultural lighting group boards. And he, even though he fucked up a bunch in his grow, he did way better with his LEDs, even though like there was a bunch of things that he could have improved. And then he continued to dial it in more and more and more. And eventually he just got rid of all of his HPS. So I think that was a convincing enough sales point for a lot of people. However, not everybody is in the situation where they're going to get sponsored by a, grow light company or able to invest that much because they've been running that type of market for a while. And it's a difficult balance because like I said, like we don't necessarily have to ever switch. I could have kept growing with the CMH and just stayed there and never switched to LED. The reason that I did was because I actually had too much CMH for my space. It wasn't the fact that it was a CMH. Like if I had a 3 by 1.5 foot CMH, that would have worked. I would have just kept cranking with that. But it didn't necessarily work that way. I had way too much heat, way too much light.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's the heat. That's why I had media. It's the heat. What's your AC situation? Especially in the summer, they're gonna have to get that under control. A lot of people don't really overlook that. I've been to so many people's grow rooms, and the first thing I say is, I'm like, well, they're asking me what's going on, and the first thing I say is, well, your heat's off, your humidity's off, you don't got enough airflow. Like it's like your environment is like way underrated, really. Obviously, you need great genetics, as you brought up in the last show, which I totally agree with. But you obviously, you need good lights too, but you need your environment on point, which is where I would actually even start, because you can get your environment tracked in is going to be just as, you know, think about it. Like how much could it possibly, even if you got like a Vita or like whatever I don't even know what the top LED lights are, but if you filled your whole room up with it, you're going to spend comparable with that just on the cooling system to get a really good mini split. Who knows how many you might even have to get like if you have a big grow room, I don't even know, you might have to get like few different units in different sections. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it.
yeah, heat has to be managed. And I would agree. I was just kind of holding up, didn't mean to be like Illuminati or anything. I held up a triangle with my hands and I was doing the kind of like this. And I think of like light kind of being at the top, environment and genetics, just because light comes from the top, not because it's actually more important. But like if the big three factor isn't growing, like if you have those three things under control, I don't care what your nutrient system is, organic, synthetic, deep water culture versus cocoa versus, who cares? NFT, like there's so many different systems that you can run. If you have good light, good environment, good genetics, you're cooking.
I agree
You're
with
cooking
that.
gas. Because and that's easy to say, harder to do. The light is easy enough to get a good one. Genetics are, eh, I'd say 50, depending on who you know and what your resources are. It can be harder to find genetics depending on who you are or what you've got. But the environment, that's difficult. Throughout a year, I mean, depending on where you live, depending on what the
So that's the
insulation is
hardest to
like in your
fix.
place.
That's what I would say. It's the hardest to fix if you don't have it. If you don't have good genetics, it's not so hard to fix. You can do some sleuthing online and fucking find the answer. And there's people that will send you clones. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of things. The same thing with lights. You can do a little bit of educating or find people that know and they can help you. And you can get
Even trial and error, shit, you can buy
yeah.
a couple of them and you'll eventually get a good one. And most of
Yeah,
them are pretty good at this point.
I was just saying most of them were pretty fucking good anyway. And but man, if you don't have a good environment and you got to get a good environment, that can be a fucking battle. So if I had to say which is the hardest to get and get right, is I would say environment more than genetics and more than a good light for sure.
I agree.
So yeah, I
It's
think
a
that would
constant
be
battle because once you get the light, once you get the genetics, you've got it. But once you get your environment dialed in, you've got it dialed in for that day.
one thing for me was that I struggle with the tent because they're so thin walled. They're not like they're insulated walls. But what my lifesaver was the concept of a long room. Like, oh, I can put it in another room, and then you know, then I can control the everything in that big room and just exchange air in and out. And that made my life so much fucking easier. Oh my God. Because that room, I could insulate the fuck out of that and it would hold and be bigger. So it would hold twice as whatever's inside that tent. And the air conditioner can condition that space, and the dehumidifier can dehumidify that space, and I can just have a fan on a Inkbird, fucking just coming on and off. That was a life changer for me, just that concept, and it's not something I'd ever heard of. in my life as a person growing up. And it was something I kind of accidentally figured out about and then started reading up on him. I was like, oh, that makes sense. It's like the puzzle pieces in my head where the puzzle was getting all put together. And I'm like, oh shit. I've been struggling all this time with fans and speeds and this and
You're
that.
fighting a different battle than you
Yeah, and
needed to
just
fight.
all I gotta do is section off that spot into a bigger space. Like we're talking about, always need a bigger space. But then I can get all my equipment in there and it can do its job, and then I just gotta cycle that good air in.
Yeah, I love the using the long room concept with tents because I think generally we prefer to live a little cooler than the plants. Some people really like hot and tropical. I'm not. I lived in Florida for 6 months and I couldn't stand it. Hot and humid, not for me. Plants really like it. You can get a little drier in flower, but uh, I like it more cooler and drier. And so if you like your home in the, mid 60s to low 70s, then your grow room is in like the high 70s. Like it just kind of it works out if you size things right and get the another one that like part of the environment I feel is underlooked because it's so easy to just worry about what does that hygrometer say on the wall, temperature, humidity, and then think in your head that's a fact. The whole entire room is 71 degrees and 45 RH. It's like I love having a bunch of those and a bunch of different types. I like having the mechanical, like cigar humidor RH meters. I stick a bunch of those all over my grow room to see high, low, and everywhere what it's like RH wise. And I think they're a little more accurate than the digital ones personally. But I have both. Um, Although some say a man with two watches never knows what time it is, but I think it gives you when 9 out of 10 of them say it's 40, to 45 or something. You have a general idea that that's in the range. If one of them says like 99, you're like, this one's probably broken and needs to be replaced. But the airflow, with all of that being said, it's really easy to underlook that a little pocket this big in the back corner or underneath a leaf can turn into your biggest nightmare you never even knew you had because in veg, it didn't really, you didn't notice anything. But now there's mold spores in your space forming and breaking into that leaf and literally waiting for it to bolt to show. Some of these molds, like PM, you could have had it in veg and not even known because it's a little difficult to see. When it flowers, it's way more obvious to some people. Some people think it's just frosty. I've seen that a couple times on forum posts, like, "Oh, check out my frosty bud," and people are like, "Do we tell them?" Like, "Hey, buddy, that's PM." But yeah, it's that's a sad one when you have to inform somebody that what you're looking at is not very good. And those are spider webs, actually, not trichomes. And yeah, but new growers, if you've never seen it before, you don't know. So I'm not trying to hate. It's just interesting when you know what to look for and what not to look for. And there's some bad stuff that can creep up if you don't be careful. And fans at this point, I think, have gotten a little bit better. Um, they're not perfect. I still don't like the oscillating fans. I know that there's a couple better ones, and people make little 3D printed thingamajigs to clip onto their tent walls and stuff. But I think if you can get more fans and more airflow in there, and just if you're smart about it, like think of like a racetrack and trying to get it cycling around like a wave pool or something or a lap pool. Um, you can be very clever with your airflow and keep your plants very happy. Like the plants we're looking at right here. Noah's got a Sharpie marker and
Yeah,
we've got some big fat buds starting to fill in.
I was just listening very intently to what you said. Okay, oh man. So we got a little higher humidity here than we want, but the lights just came on, so hopefully that's gonna get sucked out. Temperature's good, 71, 72. But I'm a total nerd for those things. I got those things all over my house because you just get so used to it. And yeah, it's a really cool thing to just get into. And like you said, I like those mechanical ones. The digital ones, I think they fail. I like the old school.
Analog, man. There's something about
I like
analog
those old school
monitors.
ones, man.
They work, dude. They work. I'm a big proponent of those.
Hmm.
I don't mind having the digital ones, but I know after a year or so, they might eventually crap out, and
Yeah.
I might eventually have to replace them. But that's part of the game. Like one harvest, I've gotten my money's worth on every hygrometer in the room. So if I have to replace them every harvest, not that I want to, because like throwing away plastics and metals and glass, all that shit, is not the best, but at least you know, you're getting good use out of it. And I think all the stuff that we're preventing is important too to consider because there's a lot worse ways to gather or acquire our stuff, and like a lot of people growing it in much morally or environmentally less friendly ways. So the home grower should never, no matter what way you have to do it, whether it's cocoa or organic or uh, sun grown or grown under a light, I don't think we should be really on top of ourselves about our footprint. I've been admittedly guilty of that in the past, and I do try to think about it generally in the background and just being mo as efficient as possible. But like we are far from the biggest problem. As much as like sometimes you'll see an article, oh, X amount of electricity in X state is used for cannabis cultivation, and it's like demonizing the cannabis production. It's like, well, that's because of bullshit regulations and things like that. And eventually, I hate to say it, but like a lot of it's just going to be grown in NorCal or like South America, Holland, and then shipped all over. Like it's just going to be like any other flower.
Anytime I see an argument about that, about how much electricity cannabis is used to grow indoors, and it's like, oh, really? And you don't care that it's negative 12 degrees in every grocery store in the middle of the summer? That's okay. That's okay for every fucking grocery store, gas station, basically public area that I go in. It's like I have to dress up like it's wintertime to go in if I'm going to be in there for longer than 10 minutes.
Or like giant
That's
golf
okay.
courses,
Yeah, golf courses.
the amount of
There's
water and electricity
Don't
and
say golf
space.
courses, Jack. We got so many golf courses up here. That makes us look bad.
I'm not trying to hate too much. My brother's employed through a golf type thing, so shout out to him. But I was never. It's funny because like I'm a few inches taller and I got lessons, so even though he's obsessed with golf, like I never play, and I'll go out and hang with him, even though like he just does it all the fucking time, and like I'll pick up and just like some holes I'll beat him, and he's admittedly like he'll beat me on the overall score, but uh, it's definitely funny to have that little bit of brotherly competition and give him a little bit of a hard time. We're actually gonna hang out on the 4th of July, but instead of golfing, we're gonna be doing some American going to the shooting range, busting off some caps and before the fireworks. So actually, I think we're going on the 5th, but regardless, over the 4th of July weekend, having some freedom and some fun with my brothers and friends and stuff like that. So it'll be a good time. Looking forward to that. And yeah, we're coming up to about 5 minutes left in the show, talking about randomness. But a lot of the talk tonight was about grow. We didn't get a ton of questions popping up. Although the highlights I saw when I looked over, they were usually like cheers or just saying hello. So a lot of the same folks hanging out with us in the chat tonight. So not tons of Q&A, even though I wrote chat Q&A. And then I never sent the fucking link out to the open panel because I just got distracted by the conversation. I was having such a good time and probably thinking about the fact that I'm having to go to the use to the bathroom. So don't want to mention that on the show. I guess that ruins retention according to the big YouTubers. You don't want to talk about those types of breaks. But that aside, it's been a fun time so far. And I will say another big shout out to Flora Horrors because I had so much fun last week and I've been having fun getting the plants acclimated. They're still inside right now, just hanging out in the kitchen. But I have a little spot on my patio, the front patio. We're planning to get the large pitcher plant, the Ventrata, out there. And man, they're just cool looking. Like I said, I got the photos on my Instagram if you want to check out Jack Greenstock. Like you could see, boom, there's my logo or whatever. And yeah, big fan of having cool guests on like that. And if you are not some generic person that's like, hey, Cheap Home Grow Podcast, we have interesting guests that would like to come on to your show. Like if you're somebody who like actually listens and like you're like at this point an hour and 55 minutes into the show and you message me either on Instagram or X at Jack_Greenstock on X and say, hey, I've listened to the show a few times. I like the show, or I heard about the show and heard you guys are opening guests, and I'm a cannabis grower, or I'm in the cannabis grow space. Maybe you make soil, maybe you make bokashi, maybe you do breeding, whatever it is. Shout out to all you people doing that stuff, but hit us up and we'd be happy to have you on. But when it's some fake ass fucking like podcasting reach out, like I can clearly tell this is like an AI script generated, like search algorithm optimized message. I'm just not even gonna reply. Sorry. So to those people, I do apologize. And this is another random, really far jump back, but big shout out to all of the people. I know Spartan mentioned that like having a panel show like this, it's rare that they go on this long. And people are like, well, where's whoever? Pick Can Grow. Where's Miss Nudie Grows? Where's Dr. MJ? Where's Kyle Breeder? Where's Aaron the Grower? Where's Brandon? Where's whoever it is that your person of choice that maybe you were a big fan of on the show? Uh, I miss them too. I would love to have them back, and they're always welcome back. We've got a panel, little cheap home grow chat that I send a link out to every week, and if people want to jump on that are former panel members, they're always welcome. I think the majority who haven't been on for a while are just kind of busy in their personal lives. Some of them have kind of veered more away from the cannabis space, at least in their public facing profiles. And some of them are just full on head down. Like I would say Aaron the grower and Brandon and Russ are just like 10 toes down. They're in the cannabis space so much they don't have time to do 2 hours like this.
Don't forget
And
Miss Nudie Grows out there.
raising a daughter. Miss Nudie Grows busting her ass as well. She's been at, tons of different farms and lighting it on fire in Canada. She won like
She's in a big
several
outdoor project
competitions.
now.
Yeah, planting stuff and getting it all prepped. She's gonna have a big year ahead of her. Miss Nudie Grows always she's got a fire under her like few others. She's like a Spartan grown, like a Brandon Russ, like many others that I mentioned on this show that just have if you can't fake the funk, you can't fake the passion. It's just like the only way to actually be good at it is to wake up every day and want to do it. Because if you
Yes.
don't want to do it, then you're gonna slack and you're gonna let off on it, and then your quality is gonna suffer. And that's why the commercial stuff sucks almost always. It's like they don't want to be there. They're just there for a check, dude. Those people don't want to be watering those plants.
There's
It's
some
usually
commercial.
auto watered. They're just
I don't want to throw away all. There's people in there in the commercial. I mean, I've worked next to them, that have passion for it. But that's what you need. You need a whole team with that passion. It can't just be one guy in a group of 10 or
and you
one
can't let them
girl in
burn
a group of
out.
10. Yeah, exactly,
Can't
exactly.
underpay them, can't under incentivize them. You have
That's
to
why
pay them
there's so
well. You
few
have to
places doing it.
bonus them well. You have to give them health care. You have to give them insurance. You have
Yep.
to do this stuff like a regular ass job. Like I know some really cool people. Shout out Hoda Herb, who were in the space and trying to make a professional career for themselves in the space and just didn't have a pathway that was similar to like something in like the tech or biosec, like uh, you know, biotechnology fields like offer or genomics, genetics, all these other fields have like really, large, high paying career options. Where like right now, it's like master grower is almost like it's been a joke to us for a long time, but it's almost like a slap in the face at this point. Come in, hire you. If you're gonna get more than like 100K a year as a master grower, you're going to be there for like a few weeks and then they're going to fire you and take all your SOPs and then they're going to have some close to minimum wage or like maybe $20 an hour type person come in as the new master grower and then take over and do a bootleg
100%.
job of running your operation. And not to say that every operation's like that, but a vast, vast majority. And then they get sold and then bought to by another person and it's like even more people fall off and then new people get cycled in. Quality continues. It's like a game of telephone. If I told Noah I like Blue Dream. And then he says to Spartan, I like Blueberry, and it's like by the time it gets back, I like Donny Burger, it's like what the fuck? We started with I like Blue Dream and now I like Donny Burger back to me. But that's kind of how it works with the cannabis SOPs in the space with the games of telephone that we've been playing and seeing over the years. But not to discourage anybody at the large scale, keep having that passion. Be the one, even if you're the fire inside of a bullshit machine, you can make a difference. You can make a change. You can make that 1, 5, 10% difference. So don't be too discouraged. But with all that said, Lady Greenstock has some fantastic dinner cooking for me. So I'm gonna get us wrapped up here and pass it over to Spartan Grown for our final thoughts and shout outs before we close it down.
Yeah, I'll just end with that. That's a good thought. Just bring passion to what you do, and I think you'll excel. The passion will get you through the tough stuff that nobody's gonna want to do, or oh, I'm not gonna leave that mop bucket over there. I'm gonna fucking mop the floor tonight, and I'm gonna get that done because I just love this fucking plant and I love what I'm doing. It just makes you do the extra step that nobody else is doing. And maybe it's just as simple as mopping the floor and it keeps you from getting spider mites. I don't know. But I mean, it could be something that simple. So really, it's just,
Often is.
yeah, so
It's the
chase your
little
passion.
things.
Chase your passions. They'll see you through. And above all else, just keep growing.
Absolutely.
Keep
And all those
growing.
little things add up. 100%. And even like emptying that mop bucket, it might be a little bit nasty, drying it out so that the next person doesn't come in to a dirty mop bucket, you know? They can fill it up with clean water and soap or whatever and start their shift off on the right foot as opposed to being left with, oh man, don't be, that guy that like there's like companies that produce things and you could tell like the Friday night shift versus like the middle of the week shift or like the Monday morning shift. It's like when they're really crushing it, they're putting out great stuff. And then when they're slacking, it shows.
Yeah.
But last and not least, we got Noah the grower.
Absolutely. And as you guys know, I live this. I've been growing the whole time we've been on the show. I grew through open heart surgery, so I believe in hard work. But I'll say this: know your worth. A bottle of Fiji water when you go to the store is $1. When you go to the casino, it's $6. When you're in an airport, it's $8. And if in some places, it's even more. And it's the same bottle of water. Know your worth, and if you're worth it, get your money's worth. But also work hard and have fun. I'm Noah the Grower, and keep growing.
I don't think I could end on a better note than that. So you all know where to find me. I already told you it's on the screen right there. But all the podcast listeners, Jack Greenstock or Jack_Greenstock. Catch you all next week. 50strains.com if you're looking for any of my stuff. There's only like 7 books left before the next print of the 3rd edition. So if you want 50 Strains of Green, there's like less than 10 now. So get on it now while you still can. But peace and love, y'all. Catch you next time. Cheers.